Hello everyone, welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I have another episode of Word Museum for you. If you remember the first time I did this, I did it on the word elf, connected that to fantasy in some way, and to the Alps and Albion and some other things. Now today I wanted to go over a more popular fantasy thing, even more than elf, and that is magic, of course. So this is going to be me briefly touching on a lot of words for magic, essentially. And I'm not going to be able to connect most of them to fantasy. I just kind of want to point them out so that you can get, have a better idea. So maybe if you see them in fantasy, you'll maybe understand the idea better. There's so much here that honestly you could probably write a thesis or dissertation on the subject. So honestly, this is going to be just a very brief overview. But anyways, magic is almost always in fantasy, or I guess also the other is also almost always in fantasy, or at least 99% of the time this takes place as magic in some form. Anyways, different genres look at magic differently. It's almost always bad, for example, in Sword and Sorcery. And it's called Sorcery, right? At least the title of the genre, the subgenre. It's generally neutral and epic fantasy, but often there is a toll to using it, or there is a good and a bad side to it. Often tied to religious class in many works of fiction as well. Even science fantasy can use Clarke's law and have super advanced texts seem like magic. And as far as understanding it goes, it is essentially supernatural, right? Which is why this kind of excludes hard magic, which is really a misnomer, since it's not actually magic, but fake science, directly inspired by gaming, which needs rules for playing. Books aren't games, and neither is real life, and it's likely a good reminder to tell you that magic is a thing people have and still practice. It's a human thing. Okay, it's authentic in a sense. You can question its efficacy all you want. That's fine. But board and video games and card games kind of miss the human aspect for gaming reasons, and so does hard magic in a way. I'm not trying to diss on hard magic. It's just the name of it is confusing because it's kind of just a bad name for it. Hard magic can be a thing, but it would still ditch the name and maybe call it like fantasy science or something. Anyways, so let's get into it. Magic comes from the Middle English word magic, from the Old French magique, from the Latin magicus or magicus, I almost think, and then ancient Greek magikos, which comes from magos, which is the learned or priestly class. And it's not a learned or priestly class in Greece, it's actually a learned and priestly class in Iran, right? In Persia. And so Old Persian magush comes from the Proto-Indo-European root of magh. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look up the IPA for it, but it is cognate, for those unaware, to the English word might, which does not surprise me knowing that, but I did not know it beforehand. So then we obviously have mage, a magician. They're like kind of obvious connections to magic there. And the Persian magoi, right? Well, that's a Greek word. Anyways, but think of the three, right, magoi, that visit Jesus in the Bible. I'm sure everyone is familiar with that. Yeah, so it's tied to religion, though, and it's tied to other people's religion. And we actually talk about this in Magic Sims Art Magic with DJ Butler. Me and Dave, DJ Butler talk about it. I have that video that came out a while ago. But in fantasy, though, magic is, and again, it's taking Butler's ideas and Stephen Donaldson's ideas. Magic is therefore really an expression of the character's charisma and the force of personality. It's a way to discuss how human beings are greater than the sum of their parts, right? It's confronting this stuff. It's confronting part of yourself. And so magic is kind of seen as one's own virtue in the unconscious mind. But anyways, that's the word magic for you, just very briefly. I'm going to get to a bunch of other words real quick. These are not really in any order. I'm going to try to paste all of these down. I know it's going to be a jumbled mess, but that's just how it works, I guess, here. Arcana comes from the Latin arcanus, means hidden or secret. It is from the verb arceo, to shut up. It's related to the word arca, which means chest. We have the word sorcery, which it comes from French, but it originally comes from the Latin. Or the word sorcery, which comes from French, but originally comes from the Latin, sortiarius, which is a teller of fortunes by lot, ultimately from Latin source, which means fate. We have Silgadry, which is seen in fantasy really only. I couldn't really find much historical use for this one. It comes from the occult denotation of sigil. The word sigil, like sign, right? Which I think sigil is a doublet of the word seal. Not like the animal. And then there's Galdercraft, which I'm pretty sure I have read this in fantasy once or twice. But anyways, it comes from the Old English gealdor, which means spell or charm or incantation. We have Wiel from the Old English wiglian or wiglian. I think it's wiglian. I could be wrong. Which means to divine. We have Wizardry, which has the ard ending, which is a condition, basically condition really. So mustard is something that is musty. Drunkards are drunk, right? So wizards are wise, for those unaware. Witchcraft, Old English witcha. Craft means power, just kind of a suffix you could add on here. I think witchdom is an old version as well. We have things like hell runes, which are also similar to that. Hali runa, I think it is in Gothic. Anyways, then we have dwemer, which is from Old English dwemor, which means illusion or magic. And we also have like demer-like, which is the same thing of dwemer-like, basically, but like means kind of like nis, the ending N-E-S-S. And then you have warlock, which comes from the Old English warloga, which means deceiver, because war means true, as in verus in Latin, for those aware, and then loga, which means liar. Its association with magic comes from the relation to the devil. If you're a deceiver, you break your covenants and you're practicing magic of some sort, right? Right. Again, that's the other, right? The devil is the other, right? In Christian religion, it's a foreign thing, right? So it could possibly have some influence later influence from Old Norse, warthloker, which means incantations or charms. We also have presentation, which is from Old French Latin pracanere, which is to sing before, so singing, magic in that sense. And then brujeria, I'm not really sure. It's Spanish, obviously Spanish, but it originally actually comes from the Celtic brixta, which means spell or magic. Then we have other things like enchantments, which enchant means to charm. It comes Latin incantare, which obviously means to incant, from cantus, song, right? And then thaumaturgy, which is actually from ancient Greek, thauma, and then combined with ergon, which means miracle or wonder, and then ergon is work. And then abjuration is forswearing, right? It is literally Latin ab, which means from away, or from or away from rather, and then euro, which means swear. The I in Latin becomes a J in later Latin, by the way, hence juration and not juration, right? But euro means to swear, right? And then jus is law, duty, or right. And then conjure is similar. It's to swear together or conspire, con, euro, right? And then necromancy is dead manteia, right? Which manteia is Greek for divination. It was related to the word mantis, like praying mantis, or the mantis. If you know mantis, you know mantis. Anyways, and then there's a similar thing to necromancy. It's nigromancy, Nigro, which is a conflation of necromancy with black magic as negro. It comes from the Latin niger, which means black, right? So that is not used anymore because people realize, oh wait, that's not black magic, it's death magic, right? It's necro, not black magic. So anyways, you'll sometimes see that if you're reading older texts. I don't think I've ever seen it in fantasy. Then you have pyromancy, right? It's fire divination, essentially. Then divination, which is Latin for prophecy type of thing. You have augury, also Latin. The further from there, but lag is kind of hard to decipher. But augurs, right, are people who interpret omens, particularly by the use of animals. Recently, that's generally the connotation in English. There's anthropomancy, which is augury with entrails of dead men, supposedly practiced by ancient Etruscans. And then you have splotchomancy, which I have seen used in Jack Vance before, which is essentially anthropomancy as well. So, and then you also have astrology, which is a telling of stars. In Latin, it really just meant astronomy. It was not a different thing. And today, it is totally different than astronomy. But yeah, that's just, I might have missed a word. If there's another word you want to know about, I can let you know. But let me know what word it is maybe that I missed. And so I hope that covers most of it, though. So, anyways, this has been Liam Williams Lyceum. Let me know maybe another word as well that you'd want to do for this, or you'd want from me for this word museum type of thing. I have some ideas. I was going to do fantasy actually next, but I kind of came off. It was kind of boring when I was looking at it, and I was like, there's not much to say here. But I guess I could make it exciting, or just make the video really short. That works too. Anyways, Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.